April, and I wanted to do an update on my yogurt hints, tips, and smart advice video. There's of course been some updates to the recipe, updates to some of the strains that we're using, and so I wanted to capture that all in this updated video. So let's get to it. So first things first, if you have not yet dug into the Super Gut book by Dr. William Davis, please heighten that on your priority list. All of the strategies for this lifestyle are mapped out in that book. It is your go-to resource. So yes, all the different resources out there are wonderful. YouTube channels, the blog, the inner circle, all great stuff, but the heart of it is in this book. So that's number one priority. So as you've been digging into the book, of course, we know there are the wonderful yogurt fermentation projects, we'll call them. So in this video, I'm going to highlight the SIBO yogurt, which is now being made with these three particular strains. One of them is the Oxysudics My Rotary. There's both a 10 and a 20 billion opportunity here. Either one works great. We're going to use one capsule of that. The second ingredient is going to be Dr. Mercola's BioThin product. That's our L-Glyceride, the BNR17. We're going to use 2 of those capsules. And then our third ingredient in our SIBO yogurt is going to be the Bacillus subtilis strain, which we can find in the HU58 Microbiome Labs resource. And we're going to use 2 of those capsules. So there are a few different opportunities here where we can ferment the 3 separately and then eat them either combined or on their own. The key is we want to just get those 3 strains in our system. So that's one way. Ferment those separately and have them that way. The other thing that we can do is combine those capsules into one fermentation project. So whichever way you decide, no right or wrong way, there's just options, right? So I want to take you through how I make my SIBO yogurt and share some hints, tips, and smart advice on that process. All right, it is time to make some SIBO yogurt. Let's get to it. So I have my organic half and half. I put a little bit in my large glass container here. And the key is we're going to make a slurry. So I've just added a smidge of that half and half, and then I've pre-measured out my inulin. A couple different options. Now Brand has one. A lot of our inner circle members are using the micro ingredients inulin powder. Both fine options. But the key when we're making this slurry is nice and slow incorporating that inulin. Otherwise it tends to clump up. There's been all kinds of strategies talked about as far as letting the half and half come to room temperature. Some people are heating it and cooling it. I've not myself done that. I've just really slowly incorporated that inulin into the product. So let's take a peek at what that looks like when we're slowly adding that in. So again, I've pre-measured my 2 tablespoons, and I'm just going to simply incorporate that in and whisking it in, adding slowly, a little bit at a time. It tends to want to clump up if we add too much too fast. And so I'm just adding it slowly and using my whisk to get that incorporated in. So that's our slurry. That's what we want to do to incorporate that inulin into our half and half as we have it. All right, so I've created my slurry with a little bit of the half and half and the inulin. Now I'm going to get the rest of the half and half incorporated in. So again, I'm trying to avoid the clumping, which tends to happen when we add our inulin, which of course is our prebiotic fiber source as we are in the fermentation process. I like to think of it like food for our microbes as they're fermenting. So we want to incorporate those in there. And then I've already broken apart the capsules. So again, 1 of them, my Rotary from Oxysudics, 2 of the BioThin by Dr. Mercola, the BNR17, and then 2 of the HU58, the Bacillus subtilis. I've opened up those capsules and made it easy for me and just included them in my container there. So again, I'm going to add those to my mixture, incorporating those in to the half and half that we have in there, and that slurry we created. And I'm simply getting that all incorporated in there. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so fermentation devices. I myself love the Louvel. Comes with either the little jars, so there's 4 of those little jars, or let me grab my bigger one here. They also have the larger container. That is an option. You can also purchase them on their own as well. So those are the 2 options. The other thing that I've tended to do is just a glass container with a cover. I do use the covers that come with the yogurt makers, or if I'm using a glass Pyrex, for instance, I do use the cover on that. So let's take a look at what that looks like. I'll give my yogurt one more little whisk here. And then depending on the device I'm going to put it in, I'm going to go ahead and just use my Pyrex for this one, which means I get to pour all of it in there. And then I'm going to put that in my water bath. So yes, add water to your yogurt maker. Put that in there, and I do seal the cover down almost all the way. So I kind of burp it a little bit to let out some of that air, but I do secure that on all the way. So that's my Louvel machine. And of course, then we would get that covered up. I like to use a space that doesn't have an air vent above it. That can sometimes cause contamination. So I'm in a space that doesn't have any air conditioning right above it. It isn't, on any area that it might get contaminated. So we're going to go ahead and get this going. Set our temperature for 100. And then, of course, our time to our 36 hours. That's what I love about the new Louvel is there is a 36-hour mark. The old one was 24 hours, and then you added 12 more hours to get to your 36. We're going to go ahead and get that started. Again, think about your timing too, as far as if I start it now, and it's almost 5 o'clock here where I'm at, then it's going to be done at 5 in the morning in 2 days. So making sure that you're up and around or available during that time to get that refrigerated and chilled and ready to do its thing. So that's one option that I do. I also have, it's either called the MV Power or the Ultimate. This is available on Amazon. There's lots of different actual names for it, but this is what the device looks like. It comes with 8 of these little jars, and I do use those, but I tend to, again, like to use the Pyrex containers. I can fit 2 of this size in there, and again, with the covers. And then, of course, the yogurt maker itself comes with covers as well. So pretend that I had the yogurt in there. I would seal that lid down and then have the cover on that. Many times I have both of these going with different fermentation projects, but for today I'm just going to make the one batch of SIBO yogurt and get that going with that 36-hour mark. So I hope that was helpful. I'm going to do a follow-up video to our yogurt making hints, tips, and smart advice talking about first batch syndrome, which is something that sometimes happens with our first initial batch when we're using the capsules as the starter. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about how to use that initial batch as a starter for your following batches.